At the beginning of the story, two boys are shown digging in a muddy pit. In reality, they are searching for a rifle buried under the ground, so they can take it and join the army. A long time ago, a war took place in this area between the villagers and the Nazis, in which many people lost their lives. The weapons used in that war were left behind and gradually got buried under the soil over time. That is why these boys want to dig them out. An old man arrives and stops them from digging. He warns that if the enemy discovers these weapons, it will bring disaster to the village. But the boys ignore him and continue digging, and eventually they find a buried rifle. Suddenly they look up and see a large enemy aircraft flying overhead. One of the boys, named Flora, runs back home immediately. He lives with his mother and two younger sisters, while his father went to war many years ago and never returned. Flora says he also wants to join the army and fight against the enemy like the others. His mother becomes emotional and strictly forbids him from going. She says that if his father returns one day and does not find his family at home, he will suffer greatly. She even says that if Flora insists on going, he should kill them first and then leave. Flora deeply loves his family and is now the head of the household after his father. One day, two army officers come to his house and forcibly try to recruit Flora into the army. His mother tries to stop them, but one of the soldiers pushes her aside. Flora gets a small injury on his face and they take him away in a vehicle. Now only elderly people, children, and women remain in the village, as all young boys are being forcibly recruited into the army. In the camp, these boys are made to do very harsh labor. One day, their commander gathers everyone and announces that wartime has come, and those who are not fit will stay in the camp. A man's shoes are damaged, so the commander orders him to exchange shoes with Flora. The man takes Flora's good shoes, and Flora is given his worn-out pair. After this, Flora is left behind in the camp while the rest go to war. Crying, Flora starts walking back home through the forest. On the way, he meets a girl named Glasha who is sitting and crying in the forest. She was a nurse in the same army camp, and like Flora, she was also left behind alone. From her behavior, it seems that the trauma of war has affected her mental state. Flora also feels very sad because he came to fight the enemy but was abandoned instead. At the same time, enemy aircraft appear in the sky and start heavy bombing of the camp. Flora suffers bleeding from his nose and ears due to the explosions. A parachuting enemy soldier lands but gets stuck in a tree. Glasha quickly takes Flora away, and they hide in the forest while heavy rain begins. They spend the night in the forest. Flora thinks that tomorrow he will go home and his mother will be very happy. Because of his worn-out shoes, his feet are injured. The next morning, he reaches home, but finds it completely empty and silent. His mother and sisters are missing. The soup in the house is still slightly warm, as if someone had just left. Suddenly, seeing scattered toys, Flora becomes terrified. He hears the screams of his mother and sisters in his mind, and feels they are being tortured. He covers his ears and runs outside, but no one is there. Flora does not understand where his family has gone. He thinks they may be hiding in the swamp area. He grabs his rifle and runs toward it. Meanwhile, Glasha discovers more than 100 dead bodies behind the house. They belong to the villagers. Horrified, she screams, but Flora ignores her and continues running. They cross a dangerous swamp because Flora believes his family must be on the other side. After crossing, he calls out desperately, but finds no one. Glasha tells him that his mother and sisters have been killed, as she saw the bodies herself. Hearing this, Flora becomes furious and tries to choke Glasha, believing she is lying. He even tries to drown her in the swamp. At that moment, a resistance fighter named Rubiz arrives and stops him. Glasha explains everything to him. Rubiz takes them to a forest where many villagers are hiding. The atmosphere is full of screams and despair. An old man is lying on the ground, badly burned by bomb fire. He is the same man who earlier warned the boys not to dig the ground. He tells Flora that he personally saw the enemy kill his mother and sisters. Flora breaks down completely, feeling that everything happened because of him. In deep trauma, he tries to take his own life, but the villagers and Glasha stop him. The villagers have made a figure of Hitler, which they insult and spit on. Rubiz takes Flora and two others to search for food in a nearby warehouse. They discover that the warehouse has been occupied by the enemy. Gunfire breaks out, and while fleeing, they enter a minefield, where two of them are killed by hidden explosives. Only Rubiz and Flora survive. In the evening, they take a cow from a farmer's field. But suddenly, heavy firing starts, and Rubiz is shot. The cow is also killed, and Rubiz dies there. Flora survives by lying on the ground. In the morning, he tries to pull the cow but realizes it is dead. He then tries to stop a horse cart, but the driver catches him. However, the driver does not harm him and hides Flora's clothes and rifle in the cart to protect him. The enemy is carrying a soldier's body, which has a note saying he was punished for insulting an enemy soldier. Flora escapes with the driver and reaches a village controlled by the enemy. Soldiers order everyone to leave the village. When Flora comes out, he is pushed to the ground and mocked. The enemy then orders all villagers to gather inside a nearby church. Flora realizes it is a trap, but no one listens to him. He is also forced inside. People who refuse are brutally beaten. Inside, screams fill the church. The doors are locked from outside. Flora manages to escape through a window, but is immediately caught and thrown to the ground again. A woman escapes with her child, but the soldiers snatch the baby and throw it back inside. The woman is dragged away by her hair while the soldiers laugh. The enemy throws burning bottles into the church, setting it on fire. Soon, the entire church is engulfed in flames, and the screams gradually stop as everyone inside dies. Flora witnesses everything helplessly. A German officer forces him to pose for a photo at gunpoint, then throws him to the ground. As the enemy leaves, they take villagers, animals, and the tortured woman with them. Later, Flora sees that another army attacks the enemy forces. In the battlefield, he regains his jacket and rifle. He also sees Glasha, who is severely injured and mentally broken. Flora returns to the village where enemy soldiers and their commander are captured. The villagers, filled with rage, confront them for burning their families alive. The commander begs for mercy, but the villagers show no forgiveness. Eventually, justice is carried out. Flora notices a picture of Hitler on the ground and opens fire at it. But then he sees Hitler as a child in his mother's arms. Seeing this, Flora stops shooting and cries. He realizes that even a cruel person was once an innocent child. With this, the story comes to an end.